Hey guys, my name is Francisco Hernandez, and today's video is another episode in my Building the Shot series, which is a series where I break down everything I can about how I took a single photo of mine. And in this case, I'm going to go over how I created this photo on the screen here from a recent workshop that I did over in York, Pennsylvania. Before I continue though, I do want to let you know that this video is sponsored by Adorama. Adorama is an industry-leading retailer that has been serving photography, videography, and audio customers for almost 50 years now. Their motto is everyone is a creator, and they do their best to unleash that creator within us all by providing us with the tools and expertise necessary to get the job done. I actually personally shop at Adorama for both the great deals on products I use and recommend, but also great customer service on those products as well. If you find yourself interested in any product I talk about in today's video, check the links that will be in the description area below, and be sure to use those links if you decide to order. On the screen right now is the very first photo that I took of Michaela, and one thing I wanted to break down real quickly is lighting. We did use, and I think I have a behind the scenes here in a second, we did use three light setups, or a 3-light setup initially, before adding a 4th light. So here on the screen is the behind the scenes. So we did have a, I believe it's the Explorer 600 Pro maybe on the top, and then 2 Explorer 400 Pros on the rim lights, and then eventually we did add a 3rd light on the bottom there, which is a 300 Pro with the red gel. But in the first photo, it was just 3-light setup without any gels and without the reflector as well. When it came to the gear that I used, I did start off with the Sigma R35 f1.2 with my Sony a7R III, because that's the combo I was using the most throughout that workshop. But eventually I decided to just use Tim's setup, which was the Sony a7R V with the 7200 G Master. I want to say it is the version 1. So I'm going to just trust that it is. Okay, it's the version 2. The reason for this first shot is because I did trust Tim to get the lighting down and everything, and because he actually did set up the lighting, but I wanted to see it myself. So that's why I took this shot here before we did any sort of posing or anything. But again, I was initially shooting with my 35 f1.2, so you can see that this shot was just to see how the light looked like. And now that I'm looking at it, I do feel like the right highlight there is a little too strong, so I think we do change the output. But here's the second photo, and I did ask her to lift her chin just to see how it looked like with the chin lifted, because in this first photo there was a little bit shadows on her face. So I asked her to lift the chin, got a different lower angle as well, and then we start to get different poses for the fire. So that was a little bit of a issue trying to figure out how we wanted to pose her. So we did have her at this pose, and then the hand a little bit lower, and eventually we did take some photos with the fire. And that was going to be another kind of example of where I rarely shoot in a very rapid succession. So having a lot of power in your lighting is going to be good for faster recycle times. So that is something that in case you guys want to do yourself, if you want to capture flame or anything with fast movement, try to have a stronger light and shoot at lower outputs to get faster recycle times. I will just cycle through these next shots so you can see I did take different shots with the fire going on, and you can see where this fire is kind of just big in this shot here, and it actually kind of looks like a heart. Now that I think about it, you can see that there is a little bit of fill light from that fire on her face. So you can see that there, and then again you can still see the effect of the fire on her face. And then you can see, I'm glad this shot happened because you can see exactly how just the rim light looks like without the top light. Same thing with this next shot, just the rim lights, and then you can see that top light going off in this photo and this one, and then rim lights again. And all those different series of shots were just to get different types of flame in that in those photos. In this shot, the pose is different, so you can see this is the pose here, and then this is a more kind of a relaxed pose. I'm honestly, now that I see the second pose, I like that one much more than this one. This shot was more of like trying to figure out the timing of the flame, and then we kind of adjusted the pose, and I do like this pose much more than that previous pose. And then so we just got some shots with the fire going on. And I think we did actually just change the pose a little bit. Actually, you know, the pose is the same, but I did now change my setup to use Tim's setup, which was again the 7200 G Master 2 and the a7R V. The only thing that I changed was actually the ISO, and I think that was it. So I was at ISO 100 at f6.3 at 1/200th, and then I changed to ISO 200 f6.3 at 1/200th of a second to get this exposure, which is pretty much the same exposure. This photo was me being off of my timing and not taking the photos when I should have. She was ready, Tim was ready, but me, not so much. So I got the like tail end of the flame where it was very, very weak. So that's what you're seeing on the screen right now. So it was just a little bit of timing issue. We did change the pose just a little bit so that she can get more of an angle. So that's another thing that we changed for this next series of shots. Pretty much for all the photos that you're seeing is that we made minor adjustments in the pose and how the hand is raised or lowered, but we didn't really change much about these different photos. And again, with this photo, the next one, you can see again how big the fire looks like, so how it created a nice fill light on her face compared to this next one where the fire isn't so big. And I just thought it was interesting how the fire provided a little bit of like extra light in the front of her. And again, I'm going to cycle through these next photos. It was again just another issue of timing that I experienced at this workshop. We ended up changing the pose one more time to get this pose, which I'm not too big a fan of. So after we took these series of shots, we changed the pose one more time, and then the flame looks really nice in this shot. But after I took these photos with the nice flame and the nice lighting and the nice pose, I felt like, you know what else could I add to this shot to make it just pop more? And so I'm going to show you guys these next series of shots before we added a rim light, and actually the fourth light, which was the 300 Pro behind her on the floor with the red gel. But I wanted you guys to see this shot here so you can see how a big difference there is going to be in terms of not having rim light on camera left here and then having the rim light here to really carve her out from that background. So again, here is without the rim light, and then here's the rim light. And again, now the rim lights have the red gels on them, but I felt like even with the red gels on her on the sides, I wanted the background to be a little bit more colorful too. So that's why we added that fourth light, which is the 300 Pro with the red gel, very low on the ground next to her feet. One thing that you can see that's interesting is that from this shot to this next one, just from having her chin lower here, there's a different exposure on her face. And then when it's raised, it's a much better exposure on her face. You can see that again from this shot to this next one, just lowering the chin makes a big difference on the exposure on the face. One thing that was good about the flame is that it actually provides a little bit of fill light in the photo that I ended up taking and really liking. So you will see that in a second. One thing that we did ended up adding after we take this shot is a little bit of atmosphere aerosol. So you guys can see that here, her pose, her chin was a little bit lifted, which provided nicer lighting on the face and just made her look better overall. And then the smoke looked good and everything looked good. So I ended up really liking the shot and editing it. But aside from just this shot, I want to show you guys the shots after. I think with this next shot, I did add some of the flame from this shot to this photo here when I edited it. So you guys can kind of see that in the editing video, but I'll show you guys all the other series of shots after that one. And then also the behind the scenes, which is right here. I edited this behind the scenes the same way I edited this shot over here with the flame, so you guys can see pretty much how it looks like in terms of matching the edit. And that's pretty much how I created this photo. If you guys have any other questions about anything about this photo, how it was created, let me know in the comments below and I'll reply as soon as possible. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was educational. I actually don't do a lot of studio work, so I was really happy with this shot here. I feel like whenever I go in the studio that I have to create the interesting things in the image, and that's usually a little bit more complicated to me specifically. So that's why I try to avoid the studio, but I was really happy with the result in this photo. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I want to say one last thanks to Adorama for sponsoring this video, because when they do that, it allows me to keep making free content for you guys. So definitely check them out. Take care guys, and I'll see you in the very next video.